It's Tia and her intrusive thoughts. I'm your host, Tia. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast. This is so weird to say. I feel like first episodes are always weird to set up, especially because majority of people that listen to this podcast do not know who I am. So to any strangers that comes along, and especially if you watch till the end, I can't express how much I thank you for sticking around. Someone who's a nobody, just a stranger who is kind of going through waves, but I guess we'll talk about that in the introductions. Speaking of, why don't we, or I should just get into it. So, for anyone who doesn't know, as I said, I'm Tia, your host. This is just going to be a solo project for now. I can't imagine any other involvement, but I don't know what the future looks like for me. And I'll just leave that sentence closed. Um, so yeah, so I'm a writer, artist, studying to be an art educator. All should be past tense question mark. We'll get to it. Um, but yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I could talk about the things I like, but I think I want to save that for later when I talk about specific topics in future episodes. But yeah, I have like other interests, not lately, but I had enjoyed music, of certain genres that we won't name, but it's definitely going to be brought up in future episodes because the evolution of that genre is very fascinating to see in real time. Um, as I'm a writer, I love to write, and um, and by writing, I also used to read a lot. Well, I guess that is past tense because I haven't read. I don't. Did I finish a book? I think I did, but it was so earlier this year, like January. It's been so long. So that's also probably past tense. But again, we'll get there. But yeah, I used to read a lot. I tried. I would definitely wanted to focus a lot more adult in the recent years, which I think I've been doing pretty well on that. But I think I tend to stay in contemporary. Um, Definitely literary. I feel like fantasy. That's something I think I need to just do some interiority. Has really fallen off the wayside for me. I don't think the stories are necessarily bad or anything. It's just for some reason I don't gravitate it towards as much as I used to, which is interesting because I love fantasy. So maybe it's just not where I'm at in life and where I'm at mentally. But, and that I guess also explains where I'm also at in terms of viewing the world and stuff and just my own life. But yeah, so that's a quick intro. So why not we go into the main event and talk about why, the big why when you create a podcast. Why create a podcast? You know, I feel like the I feel like because of especially, I don't want to say post the pandemic because we're still in the pandemic, but the earlier days of the pandemic, there was such a big boom of podcasts of so many. I was consuming like left to right. That was my bread and butter. What I was listening to, like just nothing but podcasts of people, particularly rewatching or watching Sailor Moon either for the first time or just as a rewatch. And just other aspects about music, about art, about books. So in that vein, that's kind of the angle I want to go for. I just want to talk about from my perspective, from my own lived experience, and just what, I feel like either I don't think gets talked about enough, or I think I have enough of a unique experience to talk about it. Because I don't want to be like a broken horse, or just, like obviously I can always explain things slightly differently for people to like understand or vibe and stuff. Like you can have 100 people saying the same things, but it will be said differently. So you could catch so many people with that perspective. I don't know. I I don't want to be like super redundant with talking about like obvious things, especially if it doesn't interest me. Like if it's something that's, especially if it's on the basic side of it, like, like I don't think I need to like explicitly state my politics. I feel like as I go through the podcast episodes, and hopefully with my writing that I'll post like essays and poems, you would get a at least a rough idea, and then the specifics will most likely be in any politically leaning essays or just in these podcasts. So it's just something I feel, especially if, like, I feel like anything that's specifically lacking in conversation that I do think is very important, like specifically because of the recent months with trying to get my degree, which which might be put on pause, but we'll see. Um, I've been thinking a lot of how, art is being taught in terms of how do you get into art. That was kind of one of the themes or ethos I wanted to have my podcast focus on, and like, slight, just like an added addition, it would be nice to have artists. I'm not now, just because I want to make sure I'm able to do this podcast consistently, but when I have enough episodes, I feel like I could keep it consistently in the future, maybe near future. I would like to have, you know um artists, not just have to be like specifically a visual artist, because that's like my main medium outside of writing, but artists, musicians, just any, it doesn't even have to be like a career wise, it's just the point of a couple of things, how we view art, but that's also just regarding social media and stuff. But yeah, um I have a lot of thoughts, and especially with my observations, which, whew, if I make a podcast episode about that specifically, I have a lot to say about my past observations I've had in art classes, because I have a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts. But yeah, I just think about where will we be as a specifically art, but it's not just art, but where we would be specifically if how we taught art from the beginning, not just having it accessible, which is a big point, but also making it enjoyable and providing them tools that they can be able to do it at home. Like, I think that's my biggest problem with like the education system, is that outside of like, this academic quotation mark classes, and even then that's just homework, you're forced to do that. There's not really a structure of incentive to, with like gym, art, like the elective classes, quotation marks, for you to, how are we able to teach these classes to where that's something where they can do on their own. However, they don't have to make it a big deal. Like, they don't, like, I feel like that sentence, I think, is giving the idea for them to make it their main focus in school. Because I feel like it's like the people, like, I feel like there's like the only people who will draw are the people who would want to do that in the future, or make it a main focus in their school life. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I want there to be a world where you can do these activities like gym. I think gym is the one that probably has it the most easy accessible, because I think about like sports and stuff, because majority speaking, no one a majority of people who do like sports, like after school, like sports teams, they're not going to become like sports star, but they do it for fun, and they can also do that outside of school. The way I feel like art is not structured we don't have that structure. I think part of that is because of how much art costs, which is a really big problem. And I think that's also about how many community programs are there for art. And this also extends to music. Um, because I feel like sports is way more accessible. Art isn't. I can speak for my neighborhood and the preceding neighborhoods around me. There are some in New York City, like that's where I live. I live in the five boroughs. Um, but how far are they? Because especially when you're elementary age, I'm thinking specifically like elementary, especially since there's not even like a lot of community programs for junior high and high school, which is its own can of worms. Um, but elementary school, for example, it has to be accessible for the parent. Oh my god, I'm going on a tangent. This is a whole. It's supposed to be a whole other episode, but this is a taste. If you're vibing with it already, please stay tuned for more episodes. But to quickly just finish my thought, the parents have to take these kids, elementary age, like obviously it depends on the parent, but for the most part, it's expected for parents to to take their kids to and from places. Parents can't travel like 30 minutes plus away from from the kid's school for a program, even if it's free. They still have to travel. Travel is a real, especially if you don't have a car, especially if the parents working. Like, so many programs like these, even if they are free, which a lot of them aren't, they're also not in a lot of neighborhoods. Like, why is there so many schools in general, that are not close by other programs? Like, some of these programs are not nowhere near, and I know part of it is because the space. You have to think about where, like, there's not a lot, like, there's not really a finite of spaces. It's just about the cost in New York City. Because so many of these spaces are not near schools, a lot of, these parents have to actually, bring their kids to these schools, else, I mean, these programs, and bring them back. So it's also about accessibility, because not all parents can do that. So so many kids are losing the access of being able to know that they can draw. Like, I really want us to break the idea that to do an activity means you have to make it your main source. Like, even the school structure, even as someone who loves art, who makes art as their career, well, we'll get to that. I don't want the idea to make art has to be a career, especially in this day and age where everything has to be monetized. Like, I just think we're creating a whole new generation that feels like any task, any hobbies, anything that they can make money off of, they should, instead of what happened to just doing things for fun. But I think that's also about seeing art as a therapy. Like, if you know about art therapy and any creative arts therapy, I just think that I think that's the root in terms of how we can reevaluate what how to put well how to restructure art to make it seem more as therapeutic instead of seeing it as just another career choice. But yeah, saving that for much later, especially the art therapy part, because as someone who wanted to be an art therapist but realizes, like, wow, that's near impossible for me to do for a lot of reasons. Um, I definitely, if I ever become an art teacher, that is something I want to incorporate in my curriculum. But yeah, kind of forgetting why I did that. Why I went on that long ass tangent. If only there was an audience, live studio audience, that could tell me why I went through that tangent. I'm pretty sure it was overall, the root of it was just about me talking about the why in terms of the type of topics, which is one. I have a lot of topics. Art would probably, just because it's on my mind a lot. There's another thing, but like that's kind of getting personal. Like, other thing I could talk about, but like I don't know if I'm ready for that. That's a very vulnerable moment. But art is definitely like a lot on my eye, given my on hiatus degree. And yeah, just in terms of Yeah, I don't know. I kind of lost my thought. So yeah, definitely art would be a main point. Music, it depends on how which way I want to go about music because I don't know if I want to talk about the music. The music industry is tiring. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of music takes. I haven't been on social media, so it feels like I'm very disconnected, which I think is for the best, at least right now. But yeah, I'm just tired of hearing about so many bad music takes. Like, I'm not gonna pretend I don't have bad music takes. Trust me, you guys would love to hear my music takes whenever that episode gets dropped. But that's shh. As far as you know, I have I have high taste in art, music, and writing. As far as you know, because you don't know anything about me. So let's keep it that way. Um, yeah, books. Actually, books is because there are so many. The books I love, I feel like there are some life changing books for me. Like, I love them so much. That's something I'll definitely talk about. But I don't know, because those were also like maybe because I also have a YouTube channel that I would like. Like, the podcast is definitely like, I know it's the main point, it's going to be mainly post on Substack, but I'm definitely going to post on my writing account on YouTube. I have two accounts, art and writing, if you want to follow. Art, I don't know the posting of how, like, if I could do two, like if I could post one podcast but have two accounts connected to it, that'll save me time and also the influence. Because for both, well, the writing account, the writing account can have videos. I'm actually writing one that is pretty deep, not too deep. Like, the topic is heavy, but it's not like I'm not posting anything personal in that video. That is something um I would like to post. I That's because it's kind of heavy. I want to make sure I use the right language and just have the right words cuz when you're talking about things like that, I just want to make sure my words are not twisted, but also B, especially when it comes to triggers and stuff, as someone who's very sensitive to triggers at the moment, I definitely don't want to aid into that, like, contribute to other people's triggers. So it's like something that's basically done. I just have to record it. And also, I just hate setting up clips for videos and stuff. But yeah, if you want a little hint, it's about, I know this is so fucking random. It's about a Fairly Odd Parents episode, but it's about one episode that always stuck with me. And as I got older, I realized how the deep, dark undertones of that episode. I don't remember what season it is. It's in like the first couple of seasons. Like, I was definitely not season one. I don't think it's season two. It might be season. I think season three. It might be it because the art style is like newish for the first two seasons, but not newish enough for the later like even pre poo. But yeah, if you want to know, it's like a Vicky Timmy focus episode. But think about an episode with Vicky and Timmy that has a very deep, dark undertone. Like, the show doesn't lean into it that heavily. It's like that's why it's like it's in the subtext and undertone. And I'm like amazed that like Fairly Odd Parents were even like they even did an episode like that. Like, that's the thing about like shows, kid shows. It's just, do they know? You know what I'm thinking? Because I kind of want to just. I've been thinking about like my YouTube and podcast episodes. You know, I've been thinking about, because honestly, I think I just want to do like a loose conversation about it, but I also want to make like a really structured episode for it. So I think I might do that. I don't know how often I don't think I want to do it for all of the episodes because I feel like that might get a little redundant, but I don't know. I think this podcast also for me is in a sense kind of therapeutic. Because of where I'm at in my life and what I need at the moment. So I think, and this is something I wanted to bring up, but I got lost track with the art, the art accessibility. It was about the why I called it intrusive thoughts. Like, if you heard the intro, it's like it's supposed to be like it's Chia Pet, because that's like the Pia part comes from. It's like the Chia Pet, but my name, and then I just do the, like, how the commercials used to open up. And the reason why it's called intrusive thoughts. It's because, I mean, the literal, I mean, it's not like intrusive thoughts, because if you know about intrusive thoughts, which I do know, they're not fun to have. They're very ugly thoughts that I will never talk about. Absolutely not whatsoever bring up any of my intrusive thoughts. But they're really bad. They really, mess you up mentally. They really alter your reality. They're just not fun to have. And I guess this is like a lighter take to it, because I think this podcast, part of the reason why this podcast I think is supposed to be therapeutic for me, is that it's supposed to basically reintroduce myself to the world, because I don't think, well, I know no one knows me. And there's a lot of reasons why I don't want to get into how that happened. Like, to the point that no one knows. It's not about basic information. I mean, that's part of it, but that's not the root of what I mean by that. It means no one knows my thoughts and my reaction, meaning no one knows me as a person. I think what I've been suffering with a lot is, because of my upbringing and what I've experienced. I walked a very fine line in terms of what I wanted people to know about me. And I was so afraid of people knowing the ugly side of what I experienced, and it's very hard once you open up to people, it's very hard to stop. So I knew if I opened up about my thoughts, I knew I couldn't stop. And I knew there were certain things, my thoughts, especially, in terms of my personal life, I did not want anyone to know, even like of the closest relationships. So I, and I was so afraid of ruining things, screwing things up, because I don't talk to people. And I put talk in like like capitals, like talking to people. Sure, that's what I do. Honestly, I think what I'm also leaning on is that I thought that was enough, because when you don't basically know any close relationships, you think the relationships you have are the closest, which, I mean, in that sense, yeah, but like, it's like you're not as close as you think you are. And I it was so much of like fear of people knowing like everything. And it was, fear of people not liking, my true self. And it's not like I was trying to put on a fake personality. That's not what I was like intentionally doing. I don't think I was doing it that subconsciously. It was more of, I just wasn't open. Like, it was like, oh, like, when people say that you don't need to tell people things, you don't need to tell everyone everything that happened to you. Like, if you know, this is not like an advocacy, you need to tell everyone like who you're close with every single no, you're not. Just because you don't do that doesn't mean you're not close with people. My problem was that I didn't know the balance, and I thought that not telling people things, like, I think the problem wasn't about not telling people things. The thing was, I just was never And I could never have been really honest about my thoughts and emotion because I didn't understand my thoughts and emotion. It's they're a lot. They change. They're ever changing. They're heavy. They're loud. They're overwhelming. It's they cause me physical reaction. They're heavy. They're a lot. That's what I'll describe it as. And I think the problem I realize is if I'm not open, that's when the assumption comes. And when it comes to relationship, and the worst thing you could do is have someone assume something that you haven't been open about first. And I don't know how to start doing that. So I think this podcast is a way for me to start just being open about my thoughts. Obviously, it's not going to be like this super heavy thought. It's just going to be, it's just supposed to be like a gateway for me, to I know this is not the most healthiest of ways in terms of like parasociality. So I don't think that's going to cause, well, I hope, I mean, like you can't remove that 100% when you make an online presence. I just hope it's not a problem. I don't think people who will listen to this will make it a problem. I really hope because we do not have the mental capability to handle that can of worms. But I think, and obviously, especially because I'm not going to put all of my business out there, like all of my personal stuff, like life, but just what happened to me in the past. So, like, obviously, you're also still just getting like a portion of what I choose to show you, even if it's more unfiltered than what I've been given in the past. It's just a stepping stone. Like, it's like, is this podcast more for me or more for you guys? Like, what podcasts are for it? I guess, they're more like this starting range is more for me. It's more for me to have me do something so I'm not in my head 24/7 because that's the worst thing I could do for myself right now. It's for me to find a way to articulate my words and my feelings and my thoughts in a healthy manner. And, it's supposed to help me, that articulation is also will help me with my writing and stuff. So, I mean, obviously, if it helps you, great. Like I would like, like for future episodes, I would like to talk about, you know, how we can, do better, be better for our communities, for especially our children, our communities. I want to talk about how we can be there for each other as like particularly in the art community, for example, because I think that's pretty, I don't think it's as bad as it was back in the day, but I think there's just like irks and just like personal grievances. But I think we owe it to ourselves to be we owe it to ourselves to like ourselves, like us, to be a part of a community. Like everyone deserves to be a part of a community, as long as you're not harmful to the point it becomes abusive. Obviously, that's like, the caveat, big major asterisk. But, you know, everyone deserves to be in a community. They deserve to have people. Like, no one deserves to be alone. No one deserves to be lonely. And vice versa. We owe it to ourselves to be there for people as best we can. We all have our limitations. We all can't be there for other people. But when we have the capability, when we have, you know, we're not in this by ourselves. It does feel like that, and unfortunately, depending on where you live, just structurally and all that other context with your personal life, it unfortunately is more of that than we would like. But I don't I don't know. You're getting the hope side of me, or maybe not the hope. Maybe it's the delusion. I don't know. Yeah, make sure don't make me go into this podcast when I'm depressed. 'Cause, ooh, it's not well, like genuinely like crying on the floor, just straight up sobbing, and he please someone take my mic away. Because there were points where I could have recorded this, where you could have just heard me like, if mess, just cut me off. I don't care if you have to report me. The minute you hear the tears, just cut me off somehow. Please do not make me post that. I do not want to hear a break. Well, I'm never listening to these podcasts after I'm done with them. Y'all can do the replay. I am good. If you guys, if I said anything offensive, I'll just take the whole video down, and we could just start from the beginning, because I'm not re-listening, doing any edits once I can't. No, 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 no. I don't know anyone that could like edit. I mean, I think a podcast is supposed to be loose anyway. It's just supposed to be like someone talking and stuff. So like, I most definitely am not doing any edits. This is getting completely. If you can't hear me, I am so sorry. I am all over the place when I'm doing these podcasts, moving and shifting around. I had to turn off my fan because that would have been like just all you heard. I do have my air purifier that's kind of loud, so if you hear that, look, it's like 166 out here. And oh yeah, I should have done like a daily check-in of where I'm at. Like the Canada fire, it's all in hell. It's hell. It's hell. It's fine. It's fine. That meme of that dog burning in his kitchen. It's fine. It's fine. Breathing in smoke with asthma without a pump. It's fine. It's fine. Just and all the other things. It's fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fine. But yeah. So hopefully you can hear this, cause I'm not. So yeah. All right. So that was a very unorganized, long ass tangent. Definitely have some thoughts that are going to get replayed for future episodes. So keep that in mind. Scheduling, I haven't thought about that. I'll try to do weeklies depending on how my schedule looks. Maybe definitely bi-weekly. I can't tell you about date. I should really put a date on it, but like I don't know. Maybe Friday, have something to listen to over the weekend. I will be curious for future videos. What do people do when they're listening to podcasts? I haven't listened to a podcast recently. I do want to get back into them. So if anyone has like any one that they listen to, would love to know. But like, so yeah, I definitely want to have like any like conversations. I love talking to people about their thoughts about specific things. I know there's not a lot you could do in this first video, so this is more for like future videos and stuff. Maybe I'll just ask a general question to have the comments going. Um yeah, I'm trying to think. We did introductions, Tia, host and all. The why, I kind of went all over the place with the why. Um, because I don't want to say anything that I feel like I already said because I'm telling you right now, I blinked on everything I just said. So like, I don't want to like, if I did, because I'm gonna go on a long ass tangent. I don't want to repeat every single thing I said a minute ago. So like, I do remember bringing up the like art education as like the broad topic, like focusing on art. I brought up social media and just like you know what it's like. Well, I didn't go into specifics, and I don't want to go into specifics because it's just his own can of worms. Like being an artist on Instagram. um I think I want to, yeah, I'm not going to bring it up now. I'm going to save why I talked about being an artist, a writer, and an educator for past tense. Two of the three is like for like that's purely personal. One is like genuine. I don't know if I'll be able to do it anymore, which if I can't crash out is pending. Um, so, but that's a future video, so look out for that. That might be the second video, so we'll see. Maybe I'll record it after this video. Who knows? Life is in the air. everything's on fire, everything is on the table. Why not go wild and just record 10 videos? Honestly, I was kind of feeling like recording 10 videos. I need a distraction right now. So if that's the thing that keeps me moving and not let me in my head, so be it. All right. I know this has been going on long. I don't know how many people would like for a podcast to continue, but I think I should probably end it here because any other things I can just bring up in future videos. So you got a quick rundown. Not really. I don't think you know. I don't think you understood a lot about me, but like that's definitely the next video. We'll talk more about like if anyone cares about my art and writing and just why all of that's in past tense at the moment. Permanently, who knows? But stay tuned for that. Um yeah, I think that's it. So I'm going to wrap this up. I'm gonna put it on a player. I'm using this on my phone because I'm using this microphone, like the microphone that connects to your phone. So this I just got this. This is gonna be done very cheap. Just got an app. Just gonna just paste. No, I'm gonna tell you exactly. See how utterly cheap this is. I am going to get well, I already have the app. I am going to make a MP4. Also, you're going to know how technologically illiterate I am. I'm going to make an MP4 video of this audio. This does not have any video. I'm going to make an MP4 video. And then on the app, I'm going to put an image, that my logo image, which is absolutely disgusting. So a mess. We'll see if I can fix that. Utterly, I gotta. First of all, I'm probably gonna lighten the yellow. I don't know why I went with that dark ass yellow. Like, come on, graphic design's on a roll. Everything is bleeding and no one can see it. Anyway, putting that image on. So that's gonna be the first image. I'm gonna put the MP4 as a video, and because I don't know how to put an MP3, like just the audio, onto that app. I don't know how to do it. I don't know. And I tried. I didn't look up the help, but I just tried to look for it. I couldn't. So this is what I'm gonna do to add the audio. I'm gonna put a video. No, I'm gonna do like an overlay. I don't know what the overlay is called on that app, but I'm gonna overlay it onto that image. So it's still a video, it's just overlay it onto that image. So it's going to be in front. And I'm going to shrink it so much and put it off, like put it where you won't see the image. So it's like you just, this is the only way I could describe it. If you have an iPad and you use Procreate, do you know when you have the drawing, you have like the white canvas. Let's start from like the first, you open the canvas. You know those gray areas where nothing, like the only thing I think you could put in that gray area is text, but you won't see it and the text won't come up on the image if you put in that gray, like I don't even, I'm blanking on the name. That's where I'm going to put the video is. So you can still hear it, you just won't see it at all. So that is how my podcast is gonna be made, like to be uploaded. So you can always think about how, and I always do this for everything. I am so technologically illiterate. You should see the things I be doing for my iPad, like things I create for my iPad to post for things to be posted, like ignoring drawings and illustration, like complete, like I don't know where I would be if I didn't have my iPad for a lot of like school projects and stuff. I don't know where I would be. I don't know where I would be with graphic design because I probably would have failed that class because Photoshop, over my head, over my head, over my head. We'll have a separate conversation about why I could never be a graphic design because I am I am so deeply technologically illiterate. It's not even funny. It's not funny. It's very fucking sad because that's one of the jobs I can't get. And I am very in desperate need to get a job for reasons. But I've been yapping. I'm sure this is way past 30 minutes. I don't know if it's going to be an hour. I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this for an hour. I don't have the words to describe if you stayed this long. Like, thank you so much for my rambles, my incoherent, my nonsensical rambles that I don't even remember. I just hope I did not put myself, well, I probably did. I just hope I didn't. I've done everything. I don't, it's getting tired. I can already feel my brain's frying. All right. So I do not have a game plan. I do not know what's going to be for next week. I do not know when this is, I don't know when this is going to get posted, and I don't know when the next video is going to get posted. So we are just working on vibes for the coming weeks. But yeah, I hope this give you a taste of what to expect. I'm pretty sure it'll be way more structured. Maybe not the beginning, like couple of minutes, because we're probably doing a check-in, but definitely when we get to the main point. I hope. But you shouldn't trust a word I say in terms of like like in terms of like, oh god, see, this is what I'm saying. In terms of, it's not, I mean, it's not obligations. I mean, that's kind of it, but that's not the right word. Like, I guess it is. Yeah, don't trust any obligations I made to you, the audience, because at least not right now. Because knowing me, I'm probably gonna forget about the podcast for like 2 years. Now remember, oh yeah, this was the thing I did. I will say, someone needs to buy me something. Oh yeah, should I do a self plug? I don't have much self. I don't have self plugs. Just if you could donate, I think I have something on my website for donations, like a coffee. But yeah, a tip. Obviously, we're all struggling, and I don't think I gave myself enough of a reason to tip. But like, if you got extra cash and you're feeling generous, I would truly appreciate it. But I think you guys have better things to do with your lives. I need to figure out if I'm going to do a crash out, if I'm going to do a recording of a new video, or if I'm going to write, because within the past, because I just came home from work about an hour, more than an hour. I've been on this for a minute, God, but like 2 hours ago, and actually way more, almost 3 hours actually. And I was charging my phone before I do this recording just to make sure my phone isn't dying. I'm not like scrambling and stuff. So right before, right while my phone was charging, I was just like push it out so many not stories, essays and poems. I think I wrote like 3 poems, all working, nothing's really done, and like a bunch of essays, all centered around my neighborhood. I have a lot of thoughts about my neighborhood and how it's treated and just my placement in it. So don't know where any of those, and don't hold me accountable. You probably should, so I can actually get stuff done. But I know I would hate it myself. But yeah, so don't know where that, but imaginary, non-confirmed, non-concrete, stay tuned for whenever those get published. But yeah, I was speedrunning writing those, needed those distractions. But yeah, okay, being serious, I really do hope that you enjoyed this podcast and you want to stick around for more, because I can do this by myself. Not, well, I can do this by myself, but like, I don't need the audience, but it's lonely out here, and it's nice to have people notice you and just chat and stuff. So I don't want to pressure anyone. There's no obligations, because it's not like, I'm not listening to podcasts, so like, it's not like I want to be upset or anything, but it's nice and all. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna finally do my wrap ups I've been saying for the past 10 minutes. So the wildfires. I hope everyone in Canada, the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, I'm sure, unfortunately, is going to spread down to the southern states. So if I record while it's still happening, I'll definitely send loves to you guys if it's, if you got it bad there too. God, it's like 2023 all over again. Um, yeah. Um, what else I want to say? Yeah, it's maybe it's just like I'm clouded in my own selfish, my own ecosystem, my own bubble, my own, forward steel, no nothing penetrated wall, but I also know what's going on outside, whether it be domestically or globally. But it's really not good out there. It's really not. Um, so many of us, sorry to get a little too, morbid and stuff, but so many of us are just, it's not really doing well. And I definitely, I was about to put that in past tense. Shit, still going on. I'm definitely have hit, and this is for future because it's going to happen again multiple times in a day, have hit some pretty low points. And I would hate to know anyone that listened to it is also hitting multiple low points, but come on, I know how this world looks right now. I know what's happening. I know how, like, what's happening and stuff. So, and I'm just like this voiceless person, this uber depressed, this uber bleak, morbid person who cannot coherently tie sentences in a make sense way. But I do want to say that if, even if you don't, well, like, because I'm only saying this because you come across this video, especially towards the end. But I mean this even if you never watched this video, it's just I can't say it in that context. But, like, I'm really glad you're here, and I'm really glad that, you're here. Like, obviously, I'm glad you stuck to the end, but I'm also glad you're just here. You're physically here. You're you're here, and I there's there's not much I can do on my end. Like, obviously, I could say the virtual hugs, and I could say that you're loved, and I could tell you I love you even if you don't, because I do think people need to hear that. And obviously, because I'm a stranger, so how much weight should it hold, and should it hold anyway? But I overthink everything. But I hope you get used to that. But even outside of that, I do genuinely glad you're here. You existing matters, and it gets really lonely out here. So, you know, I want you guys to, you know, whenever you hear this, I want you to tell one person that you love them. You don't have to use those words. I know, like, love is, it's like it depends on context, I know, cultural things, blah 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 blah. But I just want you to, if you can't say love, I just want you to tell someone you care for them on a deep level. Like, if you can't tell someone you love them, what can you tell them that's equal to love, basically? You know? And for all of you that are listening, I'll tell you that I love for the fact that you stayed to the end, that you listened to this video, that you gave me company. Video, this podcast. I'm glad for anyone, or I would love for anyone to stick around, but obviously there's no obligations. If it wasn't your vibe or whatever other reason, that attention span, trust me, out the window for me too. Um, but yeah, just even if you don't listen to this, even if you cut it short, even if you just pass by, just the thought of just sticking, even for a moment, I deeply appreciate, and that really means a lot to me. It just makes me not feel like if I were to be gone tomorrow, would anyone notice? So thank you. And I think that's it. So why don't we finally close it out once and for all? Thank you for tuning to. Ooh, see, I already fucked it up. See, can't have a graceful moment for 1 second. All right, thank you for everyone that stuck around, especially towards the end. It really means a lot to me, and I hope I hear you. I hope you guys can continue following my journey for the future videos. I hope you find something informative, interesting. Maybe you found me funny. I hope I just was some comfort for you, especially if you're alone right now. So until we meet again, I don't have a catchphrase. So just be here for the second videos. Oh my god. Just please still be here. But like, I mean, okay, it doesn't have to be for the second video. Just please still be here. Thank you. All right. Bye bye.